Every Saturday morning with Jesus Closet, I'm reminded that homelessness has a face. It has a voice, a story, a heartbeat. I've talked to people who've lost their homes but not their humor. I've watched tear-filled eyes light up as people receive shoes and backpacks and a warm conversation. And I've realized something deeply humbling. The people we walk past on the street are just like us. They feel the same grief that we do at the loss of a loved one. They worry about their children. They get excited about football and birthdays and the small joys of life. And the only difference, they don't have a front door to close when the day is done. Jesus Closet is telling me that homelessness is not just about shelter, but dignity. It's about being cold, yes, but it's also about being unseen. It's about carrying the same burdens that we do, but with fewer resources, fewer choices, and often fewer people who care. Today I want to talk to you about the heartbreak of homelessness, a deep human struggle that I witnessed firsthand, and how together we can become part of a solution that restores not only roofs, but hope. Homelessness is not just a statistic. It's a crisis of opportunity and identity. But together, through compassion and action, we can be a part of the solution. First, we're going to talk about the heart of the problem, and then we're going to talk about real workable solutions. And lastly, I'll ask you to imagine the possibilities if we choose to care or if we choose to remain silent. The National Alliance to End Homelessness reports that over 653,000 people are homeless on any given night in the United States. 40% of those are families with children. That's not just a statistic. That's a school-aged child doing homework in the backseat of a car. That's a mom keeping her child warm on a shelter cot. So where does this crisis come from? It's not just one simple cause. It's a combination of barriers that create cycles that trap people in never-ending poverty and instability. The biggest of those is the housing crisis. Unfortunately, as rent prices raise, it happens faster than wages. The United States Department of Housing and Urban Development's 2023 report to Congress stated that over 8 million people that are very low-income renters deal with severe housing problems. That means that more and more employed people are unable to afford a place to live. And add in the mental illness and addiction and trauma, and very often those people lack access to care. And so because of that, affordable housing isn't available to those that are aging out of foster homes, that are leaving incarceration, or that are leaving treatment facilities. The Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration reports that individuals experiencing homelessness are more likely to suffer from mental health disorders and less likely to receive treatment. Beyond the policies and services, the most devastating fact of this crisis is how society treats them. They treat people without housing as though they are invisible, as if not having a mailing address erases your humanity. They are criminalized for sleeping in public places and for loitering next to buildings. And this type of rejection only deepens the isolation and the hopelessness that they already carry. The National Coalition of Homelessness reports that these type of practices are not only inhumane, but they're counterproductive because they do nothing to stop homelessness or prevent it from reoccurring. Homelessness is complex, but it's not unsolvable. It takes a combination of systemic reform, community involvement, and individual compassion. Through models like the Housing First model, we can create areas where housing is the first priority before worrying about employment or mental health. The Urban Institute reported that through models like the Housing First model, people are less likely to have chronic homelessness, less likely to be arrested, less likely to have shelter use, and less likely to have jail time. The push for affordable housing systems is important, for a wide range of those who experience homelessness, because it gives them a place to stay, it gives them security, and it starts them on the right foot towards getting their humanity back. Local communities also play a crucial role. Jesus Closet, that I'm blessed to be a part of, helps with immediate needs like backpacks or socks or things like that, but we need more involvement from churches, from volunteers, from jobs that are willing to give a second chance. The United States Interagency Council on Homelessness set forth a plan to reduce homelessness by 25% across the United States with an all-in plan that would take federal efforts and strategic methods that local communities could implement in order to combat their own homelessness. Communities can also build networks that have mentorships available, transitional housing, counseling, and job training. But most importantly, it starts with us. It starts with how we see them and how we treat them whenever we acknowledge them. And as church members, as community members, as neighbors, we're called to be the hearts and feet of compassion. It doesn't mean, changing homelessness doesn't mean that everyone has to do everything. It just means that everyone should be doing something. I ask you to picture this, a world where no one is left behind, where kids grow up in warm beds and not inside of shelters, where people without homes are met with open hands and compassion. And then I ask you to imagine if we kept the silence and people continue to feel invisible and homeless people continue to be walked past and just held at a super low standard as if their position is something that they can help. And that's what happens when we choose to not do anything. Working with Jesus Closet has taught me that, every Saturday when I go to Jesus Closet, I expect to give and I end up receiving so much more. It has shown me that it's not just about them, but it's about us and what we can do to be there for them and to help them and to volunteer or donate or just be a part of their world and remind them that they still have humanity. I challenge you to get involved, to volunteer, or even at the basics of just caring. One act of kindness can remind someone that they're still seen, still worthy, and still loved. Solving homelessness is not changing the whole world. It is being the reason that one person believes that they still matter.